Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Brandon Flames. What's up, man?
What's up, bro? How you doing? Yeah, my name is Brandon Backus. That's my government name, and then my street name is Flames Trotter, or just Flames.
How'd you get that nickname?
I was like 18, and somebody just gave it to me, man. I didn't like it, but it stuck.
So where were you born and raised? And tell me about yourself a little bit.
All right, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and then I ended up moving to Texas real young, and then I was adopted and moved up here to Minnesota. And I've been in Minnesota pretty much my whole life, ever since I was 2. I lived in Las Vegas a couple times, but I'm a Minnesotan through and through.
Do you live like Minneapolis, Minnesota, or you?
So I grew up in White Bear Lake. White Bear Lake is like right next to East St. Paul, but it's a suburb.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the burbs, and then I went to juvie like around the age of 12, and I just stayed stuck in the justice system my whole life until 2 years ago. I just got off paper for the first time in 30 years.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Same thing with me. About 10 years ago, I got out, and I'm never looking back, you know?
Yeah, it's back in the day, like the juvenile justice system is different up here now, but when I was a kid, they just they lock you up for every little stupid thing, man, every little stupid thing. And then I kept catching charges, and I actually went to Glen Mills and a place called Gray Hill Academy down in Sioux City, Iowa, and I got out a week before I turned 18.
Damn. And once you're in there, it's kind of hard to get out of the cycle, right?
Yeah, well, it's when I was a kid, it was. Now they don't even have any juvenile centers up here in Minnesota.
Yeah, they turned it over to Department of Children and Family out here in Connecticut because it was bad.
Yeah. We're from the generation where they lock kids up, but then they realized all we did was just get ready for prison.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's my story. I'm from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And like I said, I grew up in the juvenile justice system, and then that turned into pretty much prison, jail, and then prison later on. But I caught my first felony as an adult when I was 18. And then I was on probation, and then I went to jail. Like, I got my number. I got a 223. My prison number up here is 223-114. So I got my number in 07. But back then you were doing the short little bids in county. So I got my DOC number when I was in Ramsey County Jail.
Anything under a year, right? They keep you in county?
Yeah, at that point, I think they were even doing anything under 17 months.
That's a long time.
So yeah,
in county.
Yeah, but that's what they were doing, But yeah, so then that's my story, pretty much coming up. Like I said, I was born in St. Louis, went to Texas, came to Minnesota, got adopted. I had a good upbringing. I can't blame anything on my parents or any of that shit that everyone else does. I come from a good home. My dad went to work every day. He was a carpenter. My mom cut hair for a living. My roots are outlaw roots. Like my family, the Trotters. That's my real last name. My mom's maiden name anyway. All my uncles been to prison. Every single one of them. One of my uncles was assassinated. 2 of my uncles were assassinated. My grandfather was assassinated.
Were they all bikers? All bikers?
Well, I mean, I would say I wouldn't necessarily say bikers. I'd say hillbillies. So yeah, they probably rode bikes, but they were hillbillies first. You know what I mean? The Trotters. We lived in a bus with a tent next to it in Texas. 1985, when we moved up here, we lived in a bus with a tent next to it. No running water. But it was whatever, you know what I mean? It was me, my mom, my uncle, 2 of my cousins, my grandma, and then my other uncle Charlie. He would be there sometimes, but yeah, there's 7, 8 of us.
And did you start getting involved with the motorcycle lifestyle?
So here's my connection. Like the reason why I got involved in this, I'm actually I'm growth and development. I'm a GD. I've been GD ever since I was 14 years old. So I never switched up. I'm not going to be one of those dudes that was a GD when he's a kid and now I'm a biker. Like that's not me. So, but when I went to prison, I'm a white guy. All right. And I know I'm a white guy. Like I'm not around here pretending that I'm black. Like everyone knows Flames is a white guy. But I rap and I have both my kids are half black. Right. Yeah. So I get to prison and I'm like, I'm not going to switch up. And all of a sudden I'm in prison and I'm going to get Schwazzies and bolts tattooed on me. I'm not doing that. But I had a lot of my friends who were PMBs, which is like you don't go to prison as a Hell's Angel or as an outlaw or none of that shit up here. When you go to prison, if you're a biker, you hang out with the PMBs. It just is what it is.
And what's
so a lot of those dudes are my
what's PMB?
Yeah, it's a prison motorcycle brotherhood is what it's called. So a lot of those dudes are my friends, and I got a lot of respect for them. Like I do. I got a lot of friends that are PMBs. So when you're in medium up here, it's like whatever. There's really no programming. But when you get to closed custody, Rush City is where I did my closed custody time. You hang out with your race. You eat with your race. It's not like you don't talk to other races and you're racist. It's just if something cracks off, you're rocking with your race. It is what it is.
Yeah. You have
to. Yeah, so I mean, everyone knew I was a GD. Like I didn't run around throwing up forks on the yard or nothing stupid, Yeah. But I'm a white guy, bro. It's just this is how I look at it. When you pick one, you stick with it. Otherwise, you're just a flip flop.
100%. So, did you ever hang out with the motorcycle crowd outside when you were released?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna get straight into it. All right. So. This dude, Jaron French, Jaron's best friend. I'm not going to say his best friend's name because I still like him. I did a lot of time with him, And when I came home just now, I'm in the bully game. I got American bullies. So I had a couple of the dogs that were out in Indiana, and I needed they weren't being treated well. They were getting starved to death. And I had to go get him. So Jaron's best friend went and got him for me. He has like a trucker business, right? So he had one of his buddies that was like en route around Indiana, pick up these dogs and bring them to Minnesota. So he saved these dogs' lives for me. And that made us even closer friends. But that's when I really started looking into the Jaron French situation, because if this guy's going to be around me and we're breeding dogs together, I got to know who you hang around and what they're about, right? So I started looking into this Jaron French situation, and I noticed there's pending charges up here on the Iron Range. I'm just going to get straight into it. This is about a year and a half ago. I realized there's pending charges up here on the Iron Range in Minnesota. So I look into it and I say, wow, there's pending charges on these dudes. But everybody's standing around saying, oh, whoa, oh, it's all right. They didn't do it. Excuse after excuse. Like if it was anybody else getting charged with, everybody would be on their like the paperwork. You know what I mean? Like if you hit county jail, even if you haven't been charged, and your paperwork says you ganged a female in a bathroom, you're gonna be in PC. You should be.
Yeah.
But for some reason, these guys weren't getting held accountable. So I started looking into it, and I kept looking into it, and the more I kept on peeling back these layers, I noticed more and more like. Not only did so this is what happened in the game. And again, I said this on my own podcast. 99% of the time when the cops wrote a complaint about me, it was true. I'm just going to keep it real. It was. Like once or twice, the cop said I did something I really didn't do. But the overriding amount was shit that I did. That doesn't mean I like cops. I'm just talking about my own personal experience.
Yeah.
So in this criminal complaint about the Iron Range, I'm just going to paraphrase. They go up into a house. They're looking for this prospect. Jaron doesn't want this prospect to be hanging out with this female. That's Jaron's thing. Everybody up here knows that. He doesn't like prospects hanging around females. We think it's because he wants to fuck them. So he goes over there, and he's knocking on the door, and the owner of the house lets him in. Him and three of his buddies. There was four that got charged, and I think there was another one standing out on the porch or something. So anyways, there's four of them in the house. Two of them run upstairs. Jaron and Jake Novacek run upstairs, grab the dude, the prospect, and start kicking him. They drag him down the stairs. The other two drag the girlfriend in the bathroom right next to where they're stomping this prospect out. And they close the door. And they gang her in there. And while they're gang her in the bathroom, these two dudes are stomping this prospect out. And then after everybody's done, after they're done whipping a chick or whatever, they leave. And they kidnap the prospect. They take him against his will. They take him to the clubhouse, and they tell him you can't go anywhere for a couple months, probably till all of his heals up, or I don't know. So that was that case. And I said, wow. I said, all that shit and nobody's doing nothing like these. And then Jaron's taking pictures and videos traveling across the country. First of all, he's got his patch on in all of these pictures. if you're out on bail, I don't know how it is in other states. If you're out on bail, especially for something that had to do with the gang, you're not allowed to hang out with gang members. That's like one of the stipulations and being released. Even if you pay straight up cash bail, you can't be like taking your picture with your cut on while you're on bail for a. So I'm noticing he's traveling around. He's got Hawaiian shirts. He's hanging out with Vanilla Ice down there at Mar-a-Lago. Like, he didn't give a no fuck about this case at all. So I said, all right. I keep digging. And then I see that there's this lady. Her name is, I don't know. I got the paperwork posted on my page. She shows up to the clubhouse with a gun. And she knocks on the door. They open up the door at the clubhouse. And she's trying to go in the clubhouse with the gun. She's pointing. She's trying to go up in there and shoot these guys. So it says right in the paperwork, one of the members answered the door. It doesn't say some kid or whatever Jaron tried to tell me. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Gunderson is her last name. So the lady's trying to go up in there with the gun, and the member pushes the door closed, locks it, and runs. And she just unloads her entire clip on the entire building. And as soon as her clip is empty, she gets in a car and drives off. These dudes, first of all, there was no return fire, which is whatever, but there's no return fire, and they call the cops on her, bro. They pick up their first inclination is to pick up the phone and call the cops. There's nothing going on in a Hells Angels clubhouse that Jaron French is not going to let happen. That's how I know Jaron told him to call the cops. So in the police report, it says that the members called the cops. The members reported it. And then Jaron takes pictures of the entire crime scene and posts it on his TikTok. I said, wow. So the rape case was one thing, but now I'm reading.
He's out on bond. He's out on bond when this happened.
Yeah. Wow. They're all out on bond. So that the bond thing, I want to point that out to you. So Jaron says that he got bailed out by this company. At first, he was saying bad boy bail bonds. I look up here and see that it's another like Cassandra or something out of Duluth. But when the judge is addressing Jaron, because I'm reading all these transcripts, when the judge is addressing Jaron during Paul Debelak's motion to dismiss hearing, he says that Jaron got out for cash. So boom, that's the discrepancy. How is the judge saying you got out for cash? But you know what I mean? Like, so that's one discrepancy. This dude, Paul Debelak, one of the dude that he was one of the prospects that old girl. You know what I mean? He gets out for free on a $750,000 bail, bro. The judge says, I let this guy out for free because he is native and the only property he had was on a native reservation to put up for his bail. If that was true, there'd be no natives in jail up here in Minnesota. So this dude, Paul Debelak, gets out for free. I posted a picture of this too. The day he gets out for free, Paul Debelak, Jaron meets him in the parking lot and puts his cut. Jaron takes his cutoff that says president on it and puts it on Paul Debelak and takes a picture with him and patches him in right then in the parking lot after he's been released for free. That was actually the picture that set me off when I seen that picture. Like, oh, you're co-signing on a, and he got out for free. He's obviously cooperating. So that brings me to the Chuck Zito thing. Chuck Zito is an informant. So Chuck Zito's been coming up here to the Iron Range, and they basically co-signed on him to be out good. So Chuck Zito's coming up here like, I don't know. I see pictures of him. Jaron's such good friends with this dude that when Jaron's dad was dying, I'm going to say this on here. When Jaron's dad was dying, Jaron takes a picture on one side of the gurney, and Chuck Zito's on the other side with the dying dad in the middle. He's that close with this guy, and he's a known federal informant. The list just goes on and on, bro. Like, and I'm a concerned citizen. That's the reason why I'm involved. I don't care how that sounds, because it sounds pretty, but I have to do what's right for my community, man. I could not believe that nobody was doing anything. Nobody was saying anything. Everybody was scared of these dudes. Yeah. So go ahead, ask me some questions.
Is that their MO, is to beat on the prospects? Like, that shows real brotherhood that they did that to the prospect. Why? I mean, I've heard other stories of them beating on prospects up there.
Yeah, so I'm going to speak on that one too, because I just did a special on that too. I'm actually in dialogue with one of those prospects. His name is Sammy. Sammy's a good dude. I know when me and Jason Dubs, when we did our thing, we were kind of driving him or whatever, saying that he was scared, and he didn't like that we said he was scared. But Sammy, I'm gonna say this to you, bud. If you're watching this, we got to tell the story the way that it happened. It doesn't make you a punk, bro. So yeah. Anyways, there's this dude named Sammy. It was the same story with him. Sammy was a prospect, and Sammy was in a support club for like 7 years, bro. So he's like been down with these dudes for a long time and looks up to them. He says, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and prospect. But then in the midst of him prospecting, he decides he wants to do music. Jaron says, whoa, you can't do music and you can't have a girlfriend. The same girlfriend with Sammy. He tried to tell him he can't have a girlfriend. So Sammy says, whoa, man, like, I'm good on this. So being a man, Sammy goes up into church and he takes his cut and he throws it over a chair. He doesn't throw it on the ground. He shows respect to it. Oh, I guess he didn't have a cut. He might have had a bottom rocker though, but whatever. And he puts it on the chair. As soon as he puts it on the chair, here comes Jaron French and sideswipes him. And he drops knees on his head so many times, the guy goes to the hospital, bro. And he's in the hospital and he calls Dubs and he's like, bro, I need some help. The only person that would help him was Dubs. All the other dudes that called him, oh, you're my brother, they wouldn't even help him, bro.
And he was living with a member at the time, right?
Okay, I see. You know that part. I don't know that part. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, they took everything he owned, put him in the street.
Yeah, his car, his bike. We're talking about a kid here too, bro. Like, I'm not calling him a punk, bro. I'm not calling you a punk, but you were a kid, and these dudes are like, it seems like anybody who's vulnerable, these dudes, Jaron French, Corey Nielsen's another one. That's the vice president, right? He wasn't there. Corey Nielsen wasn't there when the or whatever kicked off, but he was there when Tito got shot. You remember hear that story at the bar?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So here's the thing about the Tito story. So these dudes are all in a bar in Northeast Minneapolis, and all of a sudden there's two guys over standing off to the side, and then all the Hells Angels, Tito, Corey Nielsen, and a prospect are standing over at the table, and these two dudes are talking over here. Tito's watching them the whole time, bro. You can just see in his eyes. He's like, he wants to do something, probably to look cool in front of the new prospect or something, whatever. I'm not going to put conjecture in there, and then all of a sudden Tito runs up to the dude and he has his knife to his side. He pulled the knife on this guy. So when the guy sees the knife, he pulls a gun out his coat and leans back and starts firing at Tito. So what did the Hells Angels do? Yeah, they beat him up, but they held him down for the police to get there.
Wow.
They held him down for the police to get there. Like, really? Like, I mean, they just got done. Yeah, that was good timing. So
and he didn't get charged with murder. He only got charged with the gun.
But they still gave him 60 months. Like, I get it. He only got charged with the gun. But my thing is, why are you guys holding him down for the cops?